Hello everyone and welcome to Pax Domini. Today I'd like to share with you an aspect of the Lenten triad known as fasting. Fasting is an important religious exercise where one refrains from food and water for the purpose of prayer, for the purpose of drawing much closer to God. One does it voluntarily, without compulsion, freely and willingly. When we fast, we ask God for His mercy and compassion. Fasting helps us to forego the immediate satisfaction of hunger for a greater good for God. When we fast, we learn the fact that food is not at the center of our lives, but God. When we fast, we learn to show concern and our solidarity with the poor, and especially with those who struggle to put food on the table. When we fast, we learn to suffer hunger in order to relieve others of starvation. I like to categorize fasting into three main groups. Number one, absolute fasting. Number two, partial fasting. And number three, spiritual fasting. Absolute fasting is a kind of fast where one refrains totally from food and water for the purpose of prayer. And we see that in the life of Moses and Elijah. In the life of Moses, we find that in the book of Exodus chapter 24 verses 12 to 18. He fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. In the life of Elijah, we find that in the book of 1 Kings chapter 19 verses 1 to 8. After he had been fed with the food of an angel, he journeyed for 40 days and 40 nights. Partial fasting is a kind of fast where one stays away from food or refrains from eating but then takes in water. And this is for the purpose of making it easier for those who cannot stay away completely from both food and water. Spiritual fasting is a kind of fasting where one refrains or stays away from unwholesome behavior for the purpose of remaining spiritually pure. And we find in the life of Daniel and his companions, Ananias, Azariah, and Mishael. In the book of Daniel chapter 2 following, they were offered food from King Nebuchadnezzar, food from the royal table, but they refused to eat it because they did not want to pollute themselves in order to become spiritually impure. So for the purpose of remaining spiritually pure, they refrained from eating the food. In the book of Isaiah chapter 58 verses 4 to 10, Prophet Isaiah describes to us the kind of fast that God desires of us. And God says, "Is this not the kind of fast that I want, that you fight for justice, that you show mercy, that you relieve others of oppression?" And it's not so much about clothing yourself in sackcloth and ashes, disfiguring your faces, being pious, but showing mercy. And we know that our Lord Jesus Christ himself, in the book of Matthew chapter 4 verse 4 following, fasted for 40 days and 49. I'd like to leave you with an excerpt from a sermon from Saint Peter Chrysologus, Bishop. Here is what he has to say: "Prayer knocks, fasting obtains, and mercy receives." Then he says, fasting is the soul of prayer, and mercy is the lifeblood of fasting. All three go together. Let no one try to separate them, for they cannot be separate. If you pray, fast. If you fast, show mercy. If you want God to know that you are hungry, know that another is hungry. If you ask of God what you deny of others, then your action is a mockery. Fasting dries up when mercy dries up, and fasting is brought to life. Fasting bears fruit when it is watered by mercy. Thank you very much for your attention. And do not forget to like, to subscribe, to share, and of course, keep your comments coming.